Rieko Ioane joins Leinster. Impact on rugby and his future. Ireland has made quite a name for itself in the world of international rugby. But let's be honest, it hasn't always been easy to earn that respect. For years, the rugby landscape was dominated by the likes of New Zealand, South Africa, and, at times, Australia. England's stunning World Cup victory in 2003 shook things up a bit, but it often felt like we were still the underdogs, especially when it came to the opinions of our Northern Hemisphere rivals, like England and France. Recently, social media lit up with excitement over Rieko Ioane's decision to join Leinster on a short-term deal, similar to the one that has seen Jordie Barrett make waves in the province. Barrett has quickly become a fan favorite, and now all eyes are on Ioane to see if he can make a similar impact. Interestingly, Ioane's time in the spotlight has been more about his off-field comments and social media presence than his actual performances on the pitch. I've always believed that if you're going to talk a big game, you better be ready to back it up when the whistle blows. In my playing days, I learned the hard way that sometimes it's best to keep quiet, especially when you have a knack for saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. I prefer to let my actions speak for themselves. Take Ioane's exchange with Johnny Sexton after the World Cup quarterfinal, for example. That moment grabbed headlines, overshadowing the match result itself. It felt like a turning point, a sign that Ireland's status in the rugby world was shifting, and the old guard could no longer dismiss us as mere underdogs. Back in my day, we were often seen as the pesky challengers, while the All Blacks carried an air of arrogance, confident in their ability to win against anyone. They didn't just talk the talk, they walked the walk, consistently delivering top-notch performances that backed up their bravado. It was frustrating to hear the condescending praise from New Zealand fans, as if we were just spirited losers. That only fueled our desire to prove them wrong. When a team reaches the pinnacle of their sport, they become a target for everyone else, and enjoying that success can be perceived as arrogance. Rival fans often harbor a begrudging dislike for those who bask in victory, hoping for a shift in fortune for their own teams. As we approach the last World Cup, Ireland's impressive results raised expectations, but also some eyebrows among rivals. Andy Farrell's squad had ruffled a few feathers, and I sensed that some of that tension was reflected in Ioane's post-match comments. Did we get a bit carried away? Absolutely. But I'd argue that we've finally changed how other teams view Ireland. Ioane is a larger-than-life character, both on and off the field, and that's likely one of the reasons Leinster was drawn to him. With over 80 test matches under his belt at just 28, he brings a wealth of experience. When I first heard about his signing, my thoughts weren't focused on his spat with Sexton, but rather on how he would fit into the Leinster setup. I couldn't help but compare his potential impact to that of Barrett, who has been nothing short of brilliant, adding a second playmaker option to the team. Ioane, however, isn't primarily a playmaker. In fact, he's faced criticism in New Zealand for not being as creative in the 13 channel. But that doesn't mean he's a bad player or a poor signing. He's simply a different type of player than Barrett, and it would be unrealistic to expect him to replicate the same style and results. Originally a winger, Ioane transitioned to the center, where his speed and power make him a formidable force. He didn't have to reinvent himself in that switch. He was simply the right player for the All Blacks at that time. However, the role of centers has evolved, and teams are now looking for players who can contribute to playmaking in a more dynamic way. With the rise of ball-in-hand out-halves, like Finn Russell and Beauden Barrett, the responsibility for playmaking is no longer solely on one player's shoulders. Teams are seeking a balance, and Ioane's skill set may need to adapt to fit this new style. Take England's attempt to pair Henry Slade with Marcus Smith. It didn't quite work out because Slade is naturally a 13, and they forced him into a 12 role. The days of having pure strike runners in the center are fading, and players, like Francis Moefana, are showcasing the all-round skills needed to thrive in today's game. The outside center position has always been crucial for setting up attacks, and a creative touch is essential at the highest level. While Ioane's strengths are clear, as the game evolves, his best contributions might be felt a little further out on the wing. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get some time there in the upcoming season. Leinster has also secured new contracts with R.G. Snyman and Rabah Slimani, both of whom have proven their worth on the field and behind the scenes. The team should be able to navigate the early part of the season without Ioane, unless injuries strike. His true value, much like Barrett's, will likely shine through in the later stages of the season, and that's when we'll really see if he was the right player at the right time for Leinster.